Good morning. This is Ralph with the Daily Motivation from the Tarot, a X-Space program. I am recording these spaces and downloading them to be recreated as videos, which I'm also sharing across my video platforms like YouTube, Rumble, and other fine video streaming platforms. But yeah, today our topic is the High Priestess. What lessons can we learn from the High Priestess card? And if you look at the High Priestess, I'm dealing right now with the Rider-Waite tarot deck. You see, she's in between two pillars, the black pillar and the white pillar, symbolizing, can be seen as symbolizing two paths in Kabbalah. You know, the path of severity, the path of, what do they call that? The path of mildness. And then she sits in the middle, in between those two paths, which can be seen as the middle way. Kind of a combination of both of those paths. Not the path of severity, not the path of gentleness and mildness, but kind of a compromise between the two. So yeah, she's sitting in what can be seen as being the middle way. And boy, I forgot to mute that phone, didn't I? I'm going to do that right now. There we go. But yeah, on her lap, she has a scroll, which in this deck carries the word Torah, or the law. And she has a moon at her feet, and she's surrounded by pomegranates, and she's got just a globe on her head, a couple of horns, symbolizing knowledge, power, consciousness. And so when we look at the High Priestess card, we can see that what comes to mind, at least for me, is inner wisdom, inner knowledge, and inner knowing. And yeah, kind of like the way I like to see it is that she represents your inner guide. Sometimes in this world, we can be bombarded by conflicting information. Points of view that don't always agree, sometimes disagree quite violently. And it's hard to tell for sure what is really going on. And if you're dealing with people who are being less than honest with you, then the value of being able to tune in to your inner guide, your own intuition, is something of extreme value. Sometimes our visual eyes don't always show us clearly what we need to see. But if we can see with our inner eye, if we can know with an inner gnosis, an inner way of knowing that's not necessarily dependent on our other five senses, something that can take our other five senses into account, but something which transcends that. That can be a valuable insight. And I know a lot of people out there, there are some that believe in psychic abilities, things like that. And I think there are more people who believe in psychic abilities than people who consciously practice them. A lot of people who believe in psychic abilities will think that, okay, gifted psychics have this ability. I don't. We all have the ability to see with our inner eye, to know by way of intuition, an inner knowing. We all have an inner guide. The thing is that by the time we become adults, we have been so trained to not focus on our intuition. We have been so trained to believe what we read in the paper, what we see on the internet, what we hear on the news. We have been so conditioned not to pay attention to our inner voice that most people don't really have the ability to listen to that inner voice. And we live in a world which is loud. A lot of distractions. I just had to mute my other smartphone so that it wouldn't be constantly beeping letting me know that, okay, I've got a new email, somebody sent me a message on Messenger, somebody sent me a message on X, there's a weather alert in your area, there's a amber alert up in Kansas City, which is about 200 miles away from me. Just one thing after another, all kinds of notifications coming across our various electronic devices. We have become a race of people, and I don't mean, race as in ethnic or anything. I mean race as in human race. We have become a human race of people that has a hard time trying to focus because we have so many distractions. And so a lot of people may not know that they have an intuition. They may not know that there's another way of knowing things besides reading it on Facebook or listening to it on YouTube. There's a lot of people that may not know that they can go deep inside and find the answers they seek right there in the essence of their own soul and being. We are not just physical bodies. We are energetic bodies. We can pick up the energy of others. We can pick up on the energy around us. And when we learn through silent meditation to increase our focus, to become more aware, to become more mindful of what is actually going on around us, and the other more subtle energies at play than what most normal people realize, then yes, we can train ourselves to know on a deeper level and to be able to begin to see things that other people miss. And when you learn to be able to see things that other people miss, like patterns that tend to repeat, there are a lot of patterns that repeat that people just can't see. They're in the middle of it, but they just can't see it. I've known men married and divorced 5 times, and they just say, I just had a bad run of luck. This next one, number 6, she's going to be the one that lasts. And then before you know it, a year later, they're back in divorce court. There's this pattern that constantly repeats, and the person at the heart of it can't see it or won't see it. But when you begin to see those repeating patterns, learn from them, then you're liberated from having to repeat it all over again. I've known other women that have been married and divorced, like that guy I was talking about, but other women that will marry a guy that's bad news. Okay, bad news. She gets divorced, and everybody says, okay, that's the best thing to ever happen to you. You should have left that guy years ago. And then she falls in love with another guy who's 10 times worse. And that pattern just repeats over and over and over again, constantly falling in love with bad guys. Guys that are abusive or alcoholic or drug addicted, just bad news. And yet constantly they're jumping out of the frying pan and right into the fire. And they can't understand why. And again, I've heard ladies say, I just had a string of bad luck. You've been involved in some repeating patterns, a pattern of bad relationships, and you have been unable to see this pattern that other people can see quite clearly. Now, when you learn to see that pattern, understand why you are doing these things, you can stop doing it. You can start building a new pattern, a better pattern. So one of the many lessons that we can learn from the High Priestess card is that, number 1, you've got intuition. Don't downplay it. Don't dismiss it. Don't say it's not there. And don't say it's unreliable. Because with practice, intuition can be sharpened. It can be honed. It may throw you off a time or two, but after you've learned to kind of pick up on what it's saying, how it's saying things to you, pick up on your own feelings, become more mindful of your own feelings and the feelings of others and the energy that you get from others. Once you learn how to hone your intuition, you can find that it can be a very valuable guide. And that's the other lesson that we can learn from the High Priestess card. We all have this inner guide. Not everybody sees it. Not everybody is aware of it. But yeah, there are people that will know. They'll have a bad feeling. Maybe they're going on a trip. They have a bad feeling about going on the trip. So they can't explain why, but they cancel at the last minute. And then, the car that they were going to ride in or the bus that they were going to take, there's an accident. A lot of people hurt, some people killed. And then they understand, okay, that's why I had that bad feeling. Now, a lot of people will say, okay, that could just be coincidence. But once this happens to you or somebody that you know in a repeating pattern, not just once, not just twice, but, people become aware, and this becomes part of a pattern where they're constantly avoiding, danger, avoiding trouble, and trouble that other people just don't see coming, but somehow they do. Well, then you know that there is something to this. And my belief, my worldview, is that we are all spiritual beings. And as spiritual beings, we have different ways of sensing. We have the physical senses of the physical body. We also have the senses of the spirit. And when we learn to tune in to that spiritual channel, be able to see on a much more deeper level, see, hear, feel on a much more deeper level. And you don't have to be a full-blown psychic to do it. A lot of people have this power through intuition. They can't explain it. They just know things. That's not a sane, rational way to go through this life, is what we're told. In college, in high school, in grade school, we're trained, we're conditioned to focus on facts and figures and follow the science. And we know that facts and figures can be skewed. If you're shown one side of the equation, one fact, and not other facts that might contradict that other fact, because there are contradictory things, mysteries in life that we need to become more aware of. But if we focus on one thing and not 10 other things, then yeah, facts can become meaningless. But we can know on a deeper level that, hey, this fact is showing me only one side of the story. There's a couple other sides of this story that I'm not getting. I need to go within and figure out the best course of action that I can take, knowing that I've only got maybe a third of my field of vision open, and I still need to navigate my way through this life with facts that might be very incomplete or unreliable. So when you realize that you have the power of intuition, that you have another way of seeing and another way of knowing that can complement your other 5 physical senses, then that empowers you even more. And you can begin to see patterns as they emerge in your life. If you have this constant pattern of having money and then losing money and having money and losing money and having money and losing money, well, it could just be the normal ups and downs of life, right? The normal ups and downs of business. But more likely than not, it's also an indication that you need to learn how to manage your finances better. And when you learn to see those patterns in your own life, then you can take action, correct what needs to be corrected, and march through this life a lot happier, a lot more fulfilled, and a lot more prosperous. So yeah, the High Priestess, she can stand for mysteries, She can stand for that inner guide. It can stand for your spirit guide. It can stand for your intuition. It stands for an inner way of knowing, a much deeper gnosis than any other form of knowledge, a spiritual knowledge on a far deeper level. And she serves as a reminder to pay attention to things that, gosh, what would it be? Pay attention to things that at least 90% of the people on Earth are blind to. Because there are a lot of people on this planet who are blinded by all the noise and all the distraction and all the confusions, all the half-truths and all the misinformation going on in our world. Probably only 10% or less really do have the ability to focus in on their intuition. But we all have it. We all can develop it. We just need to realize that it's there, work on honing it through meditation, and becoming a more alert, aware, and awake person. So, those are some lessons that we can learn from the High Priestess. Now, what I'm going to do for the rest of this presentation, I've got the High Priestess card pulled from the deck. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle the remaining cards. And I'm going to pull out 2 other cards at random and then mix them up on my reading table here. And then use those 3 cards in a reading to kind of show how we can use the High Priestess card in a 3-card tarot reading. So I've got the deck shuffled. Going to go ahead and cut it. And we're going to deal out 2 cards. And then I'm going to mix them in and see what order these cards are going to take. Let's see here now. Not look while I'm doing it. Get a good mix, good shuffle going on. Hard to shuffle only 3 cards. Okay, now, first card. First card is the 4 of Swords, which by itself can represent rest, meditation. Interesting that that card came up. I'm always talking about meditation, and certainly did during this presentation. But yeah, rest, recovery, meditation, taking time to heal, taking time to de-stress, declutter from your life, things like that. Now, the second card is the High Priestess. So here the message is coming into focus. If you want better things in life, take time to rest, recover, meditate, and then pay attention to your inner guide. Now, the third card here is the King of Swords. And the King of Swords represents mastery of thought. Mastery of thoughts. I'm not too sure if we'd be talking about emotional intelligence here. Definitely mental intelligence could also indicate emotional intelligence. But what will come after you learn to train your mind in meditation, focus on your intuitive side, because we have 2 different ways of knowing things, at least 2 different ways, actually more than that. But the 2 commonly recognized ways of knowing things is on a mental level, what goes on in your brain, what goes on in your thought processes. And then we have another way of knowing through our feelings, through our emotions. We can pick up on the vibes of other people. They may not say it, they may not be showing it much through their body language, but they may actually be trying to present a happy face to the world, but we know they're crying, kicking, and screaming on the inside. Again, we don't know how we know it, we just feel it. And so, yeah, you can know on a mental level by, what you see, what you hear, the facts and the figures that come at you through smartphones, social media, things of that nature. But there's another way of knowing that is far deeper, far more subtle. And when you get a bad feeling, like you're being told one thing through the mind, but something else is conflicting with that you're feeling on the inside, then you know, okay, something's up. I can't really trust this situation. Can't really trust these people in this situation. I need to get more info before making a move, before making a decision. So the King of Swords here in this reading could indicate, not just mastery of thought, but compared to the, not compared, but combined with the High Priestess, an inner mastery of emotions and inner knowledge, inner gnosis, being in tune with your inner divine feminine as well as your masculine side. So being a mastery, being a master of the physical senses, and also learning to become a master of the inner senses, your intuition and inner knowing. So putting these three cards together, the Four of Swords, the High Priestess, the King of Swords, I would say this is all about thought, and the High Priestess brings a world of inner knowledge and emotions into the picture as well. She is balanced. She is speaking through your intuition. She has knowledge of things that the physical world is blind to. And if we learn to still our minds, calm our thoughts, as through meditation, like I was talking earlier before I dealt the cards, then yeah, we can learn to calm our inner emotions, and we can learn to see things more clearly and more deeply, not just on a physical level, but also on a spiritual level. So that's the message here I get from the High Priestess today. We all have intuition. A lot of people will say, okay, I don't know, I don't have it, I don't trust it. It's a lot of jokes that I've heard over the years about women's intuition and, being old wives' tales and, people falling for stuff that is easily debunked in our scientific age. And yet, if you pay attention to certain people who are intuitive, you start picking up on a pattern that they begin to know things that they shouldn't really know about, but somehow they know, and they're able to avoid a lot of problems that most people just run smack dab right to. So know that you have intuition, hone it, discipline it, learn how to control and trust it, and then begin to use it in your life. And then once you do that, the mysteries of life become less mysterious. And we begin to be able to see more clearly patterns that are going on in our own lives, in the lives of people around us. And we can begin to avoid certain problems that we would normally just have fallen right into. So that's the message from the High Priestess. So, do we have anybody listening incognito here that would like to pop on out? I notice that sometimes I have people popping in and I don't get notified that they're there. Any questions? Okay. Well, it looks like we don't. So what I'm going to do is wrap this presentation up. I'm going to go ahead, and we're not going to be doing this on Saturday or Sunday. I'm just going to be doing this now Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Central. And so we'll see you back again on Monday. We'll be talking about the next card, which is the Empress card. Until then, have a great day. It's Ralph signing out. We'll catch you again on Monday. Bye-bye.